Because of what happened in history, our men probably got affected most of all.
It's that time now for our people to really start healing and to take back what is rightfully ours.
I had to do something that was very symbolic and for me very, very hard. You teach me now how to be a good husband, good man, hunter, gatherer.
This started in ceremony, so it's going to be okay. Creator has us. The ancestors have us. We're going to be okay. I went to ceremony in Enoch, and my brother was there, my ceremonial brother, Rod Ward, horsekeeper, and he asked me what I had done that weekend, and I let him know that I had attended the Okimaw Awards to support and honor a friend of mine who was receiving one that night. And he just said, I think it's really, really great that they have these awards for our women, to help lift them up. And I said, yeah, like they're just amazing. I've actually had the honor to receive one as well. But he said, but there's nothing for our men. Mm-hmm. And when I thought about it, there are like Indigenous awards out there in Canada, but not specifically for just our men. And so I sat with it for a bit and I thought, I think we should do something. And I know he knew that if he planted that seed, I'm one of those people, I'm a visionary and a go-getter, like I'll just, make it happen. And so that's how it all started, was actually at ceremony. And following that, once I decided that I'm going to move ahead with this, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to, create something for our men. And, being a mother of a son, he's part of that inspiration because I wanted him as well to see role models. And, I think it's important that we are honoring our men and that all of community is able to see it. I mean, it's beautiful that our young men and boys are able to see these well-established or helpers or these chiefs, these leaders doing the work, and also our young girls and women to see these positive, healthier men working on their healing in their journey.
You see all forms of that sort of community that needs to come together to have any sort of recognition, right? So yeah, everything from the ones that are nominated to the ones receiving the awards to the helpers, like everyone in between, it takes a whole community to make something like this happen. So.
Yeah.
Corky, how did you end up finding the Okimaw Awards?
I probably heard it from Janice. I've known Janice for a long time. And over time, I've really come to love what she stands for and the work she does. And with that came relationship. And then through the relationship came trust. And it was something when I first heard about it, I went, yes, yes, yes. Because I believe our women, we stood up and we were strong when we needed to be. Mm-hmm. And like Janice said, and you mentioned, the Okimaw Awards, we've continued to, honor our women. And I don't even know what time of the year it was, but all I remember is at that time, for me, it was around Sundance ceremony time, in the hottest time of the summer. And I remember being struck by how hard the men worked and worked and worked and to create this place of pure prayer. And I started really thinking about our men. And, I think because of what happened in history, our men probably got affected most of all because they were the entire they were the outside ring that took care of everything on the inside. You know, the children, the elders, and the women. And I believe we're at a time now where our men are starting to really step up. And I really loved Janice's vision of letting them know that we're there. We're there for them. We see you. We encourage you. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Because we need our men. We do. You know, women are strong. Indigenous women are very, very strong. So are Indigenous men. And we want to encourage them as much as possible. And Janice, I think when I first heard about it, I went, I'm in. I'm helping with this. And I've watched what she's done with a very small budget, if any budget. I think we were all throwing money in the pot in the beginning and just watching it grow. So, and as an elder, my responsibility when I see someone, or as someone who my community calls an elder, shouldn't have said it like that, but when I see younger women like Janice really trying to do something good, that you as someone in an elder position have a responsibility to encourage them and support them and be there for them and help them as much as you can.
I just want to hold space for that conversation right now. I remember back when we did your episode back in the last season here, you mentioned something about there aren't enough younger people like stepping to the plate to move for change, and there are a lot more elders that are still needing to be in those positions because not a lot of younger folk are taking up that position, right? And to see the connection that you're having with Janice, who is taking up the plate, who's trying to fill a huge gap in men's health, and like it's not just recognition for the men in these different communities that's lacking. It's overall programs, it's overall health for them. Like the I Am a Kind Man program that we're helping up in Rocky, that's one of the only things that we have going for the community up there, right? So events like this, like for little to no budget sometimes, when I walked into that building, like that's not the first thought that popped into my head. It was like, this is beautiful. Everything about it, from even your branding is amazing to see, right? So how long have the Okimaw Awards been going on for, and what are some of the highlights that you've seen as far as growth leading up to this point?
Well, we just finished our 4th year, which is amazing. I mean, you dream of something and you have this like idea of what it's going to be like. And over the course of, I think it was 10 years, I would pull it down off the shelf, you know, as figure of speech, but then I'd start working on it. And I had a few people that were helping and being involved. And then some people left. And then I put it back on the shelf because life and things were happening. And then during COVID, which is, I feel, is one of the positive blessings of it for myself, was we were actually able to come together and start really working towards making this award ceremony happening. And I know that we were trying to figure out a date. And for us, we felt that with the Osqueo being in the spring, representing the female, the feminine, the new growth, the new birth, all of that, that we could do it in the fall, which was a masculine time where we're doing like the gathering, the hunting, like all of that stuff. When you think about our ways of living back pre-colonization. And so we figured, okay, we'll do it in the fall and we'll get it going. And it was really interesting because we worked really like solid meetings, teams, you know, we were meeting online because we had to. And we had some phenomenal people be involved. And I just want to acknowledge those people because they put a lot of their time. Some of them have left. Some of them left for a little bit and came back. But I honor each and every one of them for their time, their energy, their commitment and dedication to ensure that we were doing things in a good way. And that's part of our philosophy, is to have our elders. So we have Corky and we have Charlie Fox from Treaty 7 from the Blood Tribe, Karen and Keith, Chief Moon. We had our elders from from the north as well. We had Bert Auger to come on and help guide us, help direct us. If things came up, they were able to help work those things through with us. So it's been a blessing and in that way to have our elders. And so I really, my hand to my heart, I'm so grateful for our elders. And, when I think about the relationship between Corky and I, it started more on a professional level, but throughout the years we've become, friends. Like I look up to her. She's a matriarch. She's somebody that, I strive to, to work towards being, when I get to that age. So I feel that, with the Okimaw, it started as this dream, and with all the people, they made it happen. They made it a reality. And we were getting a little flustered and kind of like discouraged when we were gonna, I think it was about a month before the first year. Mm-hmm. And we had most of the things ready, but we're kind of thinking, oh, is this gonna, like, are we gonna, like, we don't have, this or that. And then we were almost gonna throw the towel in, and we were online having this meeting, and Corky was like, just put her hand up. Oh, she's like, no, you worked way too hard to give up now. We're going to do it. It's going to be okay. This started in ceremony, so it's going to be okay. Creator has us. The ancestors have us. We're going to be okay. And then I had to go back to that, like, faith and belief in that, because I presented all of that protocol and intention, and I went to the sweat, and I prayed, and I asked for prayers for Okimaw. And so I had to remember that and go back to that. And that's when we did the first year. And what a beautiful year. Like, it was so emotional for me because my dream had become my reality, our reality. And to see all those beautiful men being acknowledged, it just brought tears to my eyes, because a lot of our elders that were acknowledged that day, they looked like little boys. Like, they were just so proud of themselves, right, for receiving this award. And our beautiful elder, the late Gilman Cardinal, he always bragged about his award after that. Oh, I got an Okimaw Award. I got an Okimaw. And it just was so beautiful. So the 4 years, people, when they look at our website, they're able to see all these beautiful men from Treaty 6, 7, and 8 who've been acknowledged and honored for their gifts and contributions to society, their communities, their families, to themselves. It's just so beautiful. And I'm just honored that I had the people who believed in it just as much as I did to help make it happen. And I have an amazing committee and elder advisory.
And you have your own inner strength. You persevere. That's what I love about you. Yeah. And I loved also when you were speaking how the men are there. I love when they have their kids there and the children see their dad get up there, and they're never going to forget that. They'll never forget that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
The first year that I was able to attend, I also came with a colleague of mine up in Rocky, and he brought his son, who is Métis as well, and he was actually able to lead the line out of nowhere. It was so surprising to him. It was the first time he's ever done it before. His son has been very curious about Métis culture and has been just starting to really dive into it. And the smile that was on his face for those photos is still something that that Dom loves to brag about. He shows photos of it all the time. And something that you mentioned is how closely ceremony and our Indigenous teachings and just way of life is mirrored through the Okimaw Awards. Would you like to give some more perspective on just how these teachings and these ways are mirrored through the structure of it, through even the awards themselves?
When we were in the planning phase, we did have one gentleman, a part of our committee at the time, and he's from the Blood Tribe, Lance Scout, and he helped guide us through when we were working on the 7 teachings, because he had, quite a bit of background on that and teachings around it and stuff. So when we were identifying each of those teaching awards, we really wanted it to be based on character, on the character of the individual receiving this award. And it was really for the sung and the unsung. And that was something that Lewis Cardinal had said to me. And he was part of the way back at the beginning phase. And that always stuck with me, is the sung and the unsung. Because we do have our men out there that are involved in so many different things, whether it's music, acting, and so those might be the sung, the ones that are maybe chiefs and representative in government or whatever. Those are the, and then the unsung maybe are beautiful men that are behind the scenes doing other things, doing some of the other work. And so we wanted to, because we also recognize that there's leaders in every kind of group. So when we think of even our less fortunate brothers and sisters, we have those leaders in those areas, right? We talked about some of the men that would be sitting around at maybe Boyle Street, just hanging out, but maybe we have that one person that says hello to everybody, have a great day, you're amazing, lifting people up in that way. So when we're thinking about the Love Award, that person's giving that love to everybody that comes around in that space. So we were thinking about how we could ensure that we're bringing that spirit to these 7 teachings. And then with our categories, we wanted to also indigenize them in a way that instead of the Lifetime Achievement Award, we call it the Lifetime Journey Award, because their journey had brought them to that place of where they are today and being honored for what they've accomplished. And the same thing with, we have the Knowledge Seeker Award, which is somebody who's, whether they're a student, maybe they're somebody that teaches others. So always seeking that knowledge, or even giving that knowledge to that transfer. And that's something that my ceremonial dad talks about all the time, is that transfer. So when we're offering ourselves in these different ways, and then having that given back, that honor and that acknowledgement, like it's just such a beautiful thing to witness. And I'm really glad that you guys were able to come, that you and Dominic came. And, I was so happy when we were given the green light to have his son on our poster this last year.
You see.
Because we also want to acknowledge our young men. We want to acknowledge the youth, because they're up and coming. They're going to be the ones leading us in the future. So we need to lift them up. We need them to know, like our elder Corky is saying, we see you, we honor you, and we want to show you that by honoring you with this award or token of acknowledgement. So I'm just really grateful that all that work that we put into it. Like, I've had people say to me that they see the awards as prestigious, and I never in my life thought like prestigious, right? Like, I want to get an Okimaw Award. Like, I've heard, some of my colleagues that are, Indigenous, that they're like, I would love to get an Okimaw Award. Like it builds that, and it also, I guess, what's the word I'm thinking of, like, that you feel like this sense of, I don't want to say satisfaction, but it's like, wow, like people are just loving this. Like, they're just really gobbling it up and feeling that pride within themselves, that confidence to continue on their, their path, and know that they've been acknowledged in that way, in a good way, right? Because one of the teachings that I receive, and I share this with people, is when we look at the women, and this was one of the things that I was thinking about with the Esquay Awards, and this was, a teaching that we've been given, is like the women are the bowl in the pipe, and then we have the stem, that's the male. And we've done a really good job of lifting up our women, but our men are here. So you can't smoke that pipe. You have to bring them up to be at that balance and that equality level to be able to utilize and then that, connection. And that's where we're working on lifting our men. And I feel like it's been a really good journey the last 4 years. We're coming up to our 5th year. We're going into our 5th year, and there's so much excitement, so much buzz. And we've had a lot of support. City of Edmonton, I can't say enough about them. Wind Speaker, they've done such an amazing job, and Western Varieties, they've been supporting us since day one. Mm-hmm. And I feel that we've talked about spreading it out, maybe going to travel, kind of like the Inspire Awards do every year. They go to one of the main cities in Canada, but bringing it around and having somebody host it or put it up. But the city it's such a statement. It's such a, when we think about reconciliation, we're all sitting in there honoring our Indigenous men in a building that makes decisions for the city of Edmonton.
In the heart of Alberta.
And that speaks volumes to me. And the fact that they were so open, and they still are, they're just like, what can we do for you? What can we do to help you make this happen?
Didn't they light up the bridge this year?
They did.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. I request, you have to fill out this form, but
yeah,
I didn't know about it, but I was like, I'm going to do that.
This is an option? Yeah.
Yeah, I can do this. Let's do it. So I picked Dodger blue, but I mean, we should have picked Oilers blue, but I don't think they had that option. But it's, but just to signify and then letting the world know, letting the city of Edmonton know, this is for our Indigenous men. We are honoring our men today. And every day, we need to honor our men.
You touched on the different community supports. Are there any other supports that have helped out?
Yeah, we actually had support from the government, of Alberta, with Fish and Wildlife. Mm-hmm. They're the ones who actually give us the feathers for the 7 teaching awards. We have had support from Curtis Cardinal. He has his teepee traits. He did Urbanic for a few years. And we've also Bentero Traditional Healing Society, Creating Hope Society. These are also organizations that are by matriarchs. And I know that they saw the same type of what we were, as women, the need, and to support it, to make sure that it happened. So I'm really grateful to all of the supporters, the ones that donated. It's been such the sponsorship has been amazing. Enbridge, yeah, amazing.
So the awards themselves are based around our 7 teachings. Are there other awards that are outside of those teachings, or is it just based on the 7 teachings? We
actually have category awards as well, because we wanted to have those as part of the award ceremony. We have business award. We have things like the
Wounded Warrior.
The Wounded Warrior Mike Gladue Award. That one was one that I felt was really needed. And in honor of my late brother, who was at the end of his life, he was a very big activist. He just loved working with the youth, helping them. He was a good positive role model. He walked across Canada through his time there, and he had been in the systems, whether that was foster care, group care, institutions, corrections, what have you, struggled with addictions. But one of the things that was even though all of these things happened, he pulled himself out of that, and then he started to give back in a good way. And that was the inspiration for that award is, we can go through the things, we can go through these really hard times or feel that we need to be in this realm, but you are able to get yourself and turn yourself around and give, and then the giving back piece. So we wanted to honor those men that have been through something similar and honor them And we've had some really amazing people, recipients, men that have received that award. We have the Jimmy Herman Creative Arts Award in honor of Jimmy and all of the things.
Shane Yellowbird.
Yeah, Shane Yellowbird Music Award.
Yeah.
In honor of these men who paved the way, broke the trail for these other men to come and know that I can make it out there in that, or I can, be, they were their inspiration at one time. So, and many of the recipients had said that, Jimmy was my inspiration, or, it's so amazing I'm getting this award because Shane was my inspiration as an artist, things like that. So.
And doesn't Shane's family now give back in their way?
Yeah, they actually offered for the recipient, the receiver, studio time in the Shane Yellowbird studio that they have now in Maspachis. Part of these awards, I approached the family, like with Mike, it was his wife, and we asked the families to come and give the award to the recipient on behalf of their loved one, so that it's in that way, it's very meaningful for the families to give these awards to these men. And it's always a beautiful moment for everyone. So,
are there any moments that have really stood out to either of you through the last 4 years?
Other than Dom's son with his little top hats in between those two men, or three men with their headdresses, I just love that transfer there of little to elder. I really, what I hold close to my heart is Gilman Cardinal, and we had this rapport right away where we teased each other, and that it was a very quick relationship, and we, flirted and come on, honey, and things like that. And he was just so proud of his award, and then for him to, pass away, I'm just really glad we got to do that for him and his family. That impacted me. Showcasing and seeing the Okimaw Awards committee really step into their gifts. Their leadership gifts, their creative gifts, their technology gifts with their filming and everything. The Okimaw Awards committee, they've got it going on, and there's never been an argument. There's never been any discord. It's been a very gentle and respectful environment to be a part of. And the other elders, they're really lovely people. I really have come to love them a lot.
Within our process for when we receive the nominations, we have a matriarch committee who make the final decision if there's more than one recipient for an award. And so this past year, I have to say, I was so overwhelmed with the amount of men that were nominated for the Love Teaching Award. Seven Teaching. That to me was just so inspiring that we had all of these people seeing that quality and character in our men. Like, how beautiful. And I feel that the healing is happening. And it's through these pieces that we get to see, even in the background of when we're receiving these nominations, the things people, the ones that are writing the support letters, what is said. Like, we wish we could, have everybody hear these beautiful, but we're only allowed to, we're only able to write so much when we're introducing them and stuff, but it's phenomenal. And it just keeps that fire for me to keep, for us to keep doing it, because we're seeing all of this positive, beautiful men. And we have our elder Corky who gives the 7 teachings to our men, the awards to our men, and she gives them that love. And she, she's that energy, that whether it's an auntie energy, kokum energy, mother energy to our men, and saying, you are loved. you know, and we see you, we appreciate you. And they just walk away this feeling that you see them feeling that pride, that confidence, that, you know, being acknowledged for something that they probably never thought of, or they never thought, wow, I'm getting an award for being somebody showing love or courage or humility, being in my humility. Like, it's such a, and that's why we wanted to have, why I felt it was important to have these 7 teaching awards, like as part of the award ceremony, and everybody else coming on board saying, yes, that's a good idea. That's great. Let's do that. We need to keep honoring, and we have a bit of catch up. I'm glad we've honored the elders that are out there. We're also, part of our process is we want to honor some of our elders or Okimaws that have, you know, who've already passed, but these are the amazing things they've done, you know, things like that in memorial. And so, yeah, I mean, Gilman was a big loss in all the communities. But like Corky said, it was so awesome to see him get that award, and how proud those guys were the first year. Like, I think I'll always remember the first, like you always remember the first for things, right? And that one was just that confirmation that this needs to continue to happen, that we need to have these awards, that we need to continue to build and lift up our men. And I have to say, at this last award ceremony, I was approached by by the Lifetime Journey Awards wife, and she said like she wants to help support our awards this year, but she said I was really surprised to see Treaty 6, 7, and 8 all together. Yeah, you know, because usually it's one or the other, what have you, right? And I said, well, I guess part of it is those connections, those relationships that I've built over the years through different positions, work, just meeting people, knowing people in the community. And I'm registered in Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation, which is in Treaty 8. I lived in Treaty 6 in Edmonton for years, built an amazing network, and I've been adopted into Treaty 7, and I built rapport and relationships down there through my previous position. So I think that was part of what helped bridge that. And I think for me, one of the biggest highlights is now seeing more headdresses in our grand entry. Like the first year it was my dad, Charlie Fox. And then the second year we had one of the chiefs from Frog Lake and so on. And so it's building. We've had the Grand Chief of Treaty 8 come, you know, and this year we had more men. And I asked them, the ones that I know that have that headdress, please wear it. Be a part of our grand entry. Let's show like this pride of who we are as people.
It's seeming like the awards themselves have just turned into a giant gathering fire for different nations to come down. And
you know, we had the Esqueo, now we have the Okimaw. I know that there's other awards out there that exist even here in Calgary. Like there's one in Calgary through USAE. But like Canada had the Inspire Awards, and that one to me is like, what I guess it would be like right up here. It's like the biggest honor of ever for Indigenous people. But you know, for the Okimaw, I go back to that. It's for the sung and the unsung. It's to honor these people, whether they're out there, you know, living a hard life, or whether they're just starting their healing journey, or they've been working, doing frontline work, or they're, you know, somebody who works for, you know, is a police officer who is now retired, like to honor those individuals that have done such amazing things. And it doesn't matter where you are in your life, because when I think about the Inspire Awards, even though I've been a recipient myself for the Esqueo, it still seems for me like a long, like, reach. So imagine somebody who's just starting out, how far that would feel like forever opportunity, right? So we wanted to make sure that we can acknowledge anybody.
The journey.
Yeah. It's about the journey and how you're working, and what you're, even just if you are just full of love, full of bravery, full of whatever, right? Like we just want to make sure that you're being seen. We see you. somebody sees you and somebody's saying, like, I want this person to get this award because they deserve it. I worked hard.
Would you like to share some light on the actual meaning of Okimaw and how that translates into not only the awards and how you also see it?
Well, first, at the beginning, it was going to be called the Nappy Awards.
The Nappy Award.
Helper. And what happened was there was another event that happened within one of the agencies in Edmonton, and they had wanted to acknowledge the men in the community at that time, but it was more like the father award, the grandfather award, the uncle award, brother award, like things like that. And it was for a conference for men. And that word was tied into that award ceremony. So I was thinking, oh, geez, like I wanted the award ceremony to be more what it is, like what we work towards to have now. So I didn't know if I should use that word anymore. So because I didn't want it to be tied to that event that happened, that conference. So my cousin Jules Thomas, he said, well, let me think about it for a bit, because he was part of the way at the beginning pieces. And then he said, Okimaw. How about we use Okimaw? And I said, what does that mean? And he said, like chief, like a leader, like somebody who's, up there working towards helping the people or giving back or however that is, like a boss. And I said, oh, okay. All right. Yeah, let's use that, because there are leaders in every group. Doesn't matter. You always have that one person who's leading the way or encouraging or what have you. So that's where that, and it is a Cree word, but because the Okimaw were created and conceived up here in Treaty 6, it just felt fitting to use a Cree word. But in any nation or tribe, they all have their own word for that. And we're still honoring that about the men. And I love this woman.
Janice is the one. Like she's the sun, and we're the planets that circle around her and follow her lead. And you're doing a good job. You are. You're really doing a good job.
What are the Okimaw events really looking for you when you're planning a year from now, 5 years from now?
I know it'll keep evolving. And I think one of the things I've noticed is, within our societies and our communities, a lot of our youth are being steered in different ways, whether negatively or positively. But I feel like if we're able to start that lifting of them by including them in the 7 Teaching Awards, then there's that hope that they'll then see themselves how we're seeing them, whether it's, with their bravery or their humility or what have you, but to start really lifting that piece of lifting our men. Because for so long, and like Corky's talked about it, and our people know about that, the colonization pieces, what it's taken away from our people, what it took away from the roles. All of that stuff is trying to bring that back, trying to help them see themselves in this way that, you are our protectors, you are our warriors, like you're a warrior. And that by bringing more opportunities, I'm hoping that for the future that we'll have all these younger people coming and being like so proud of themselves to help them continue leading for themselves, for their peers, their families, their communities. Because we need people to step up. We need our people to start stepping up, because the way our world is going, we need those leaders. We just need them. And it's important that we have them. And one of my biggest ideas, it's still in like the planning in my head stage, and I've shared it, of course, with my committee and stuff, is I'd like to see an actual building that is for men and resources. We have our shelters and we have things like that, and we have our societies and places for women to go to, but there's nothing really out there for our men. And we really need those. We really need to help build our men and build them back, or help start building them. Because there are our men, like our elders, who've been through that. They went through that. They were students at these schools, they were, they came from homes that were ceremonial, culturally rooted, language, everything. Mm-hmm. Then it was taken. Then they had to live this life of abuse and coldness and stuff, and then go back home to their home fire and maybe not being welcome back. Yeah. But all of those things, right? So this is like that beginning of a new generation of building our men, building our voice, helping that new generation, but also our girls and our women can see there are men out there who we can't continue painting our men with the same brush, because there's men out there that are doing the work.
Programs like this, events like this are huge for healing. It's not just acknowledgement. Like the acknowledgement is just simply a tool to help with pushing against that generational trauma that affects our men, it affects our women and children. And again, it's the whole family, it's the whole community that gets affected by it, right? So,
and the work you guys are doing over there, like it's when we had that conversation when we first met, it was just like I was so blown away by the dedication you guys both have, you and Dominic, and those programs that when you take them out and you guys go hiking and you guys do all of these things. I said, wow, like that is like the greatest gift that these men are able to have, is the safe space that you guys are offering and being able to have for them, to hold for them. And so that's why I felt it's so important for you all to come to the awards and just cordially invite you to come and be a part of it. Because I felt that hopefully you might, it's the ripple effect of saying, hey, maybe somebody from your area that could be nominated for awards,
Yeah, absolutely. And just like connecting and stuff like that too, to other programs.
And I'd like to say, when you interviewed me a couple of years ago, things have changed. My outlook has changed, and there are more youth that are now making really good choices and stepping into the ceremony way. And, that what I like about the Okimaw Awards and what I experienced with I Am a Kind Man out in Rocky, there's no ego. Good. And ego can bring something down very, very quick. Mm-hmm. And I never once have seen any ego at Okimaw or the I Am a Kind Man initiative. And you're a very good leader in that regard. And a lot of people watch you and take note of how you are. So you're doing good as well. Mm-hmm. What am I saying? What am I?
Where am I?
Where am I again? So, but and the other thing that makes me smile when I listen to Janice talk, and I just about started giggling out loud when she was talking. When I came on board, it was fresh, and I don't know if you know about the Okimaw Awards. I've been lucky enough to get one, but it's fancy. Mm-hmm. And it's in a big, beautiful hall, and there's music, and there's a banquet, and gowns, and everything. And I think we all kind of wanted that for the Okimaw Awards. And then I like that we went, well, maybe it's not going to be like that this year. It's the first year. Maybe it's just going to be some Kentucky Fried Chicken in a church basement. We don't know. But what I love is that it's growing under Janice's vision and the committee's vision, and I like that it's growing slowly. Mm. And I too hope that it'll move around someday, recognize men from all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to just build on that, and part of the vision too was, it is nice to go to a banquet and the fancy pieces and all of that. But the reason why I think it's at the city hall and why that was really a good thing is because you don't have to pay to get in. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want any barriers for anyone who wanted to be there.
Yeah.
To expect to have to pay $150. For them, that's what they do. Mm-hmm. But for us and for the Okimaw, I really wanted it to be barrier free, and that anybody could come in anybody, didn't matter who they were, and they could come in and be witness to this, you know. And so that was really the heart of that, is to make sure that anybody, Joe Blow, can come off the street to say, hey, I want to check this out, what's going on. And because City Hall is open, it's open to the public, so anybody could come in and just be like, wow, what's going on?
And they do.
And they come and check it out. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about it being there and being at no charge.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I love it.
Mayor's been pretty good to us there.
And the mayor came this year, our new mayor. Oh, I shouldn't say mine. I'm not in Edmonton anymore, but the new mayor of Edmonton came and yeah, he just soaked it up. I think it was his like second day in the office. I don't know what it was, but first week. And he came to our event. It was like one of his first events. I think he came and he was at the Okimaw Awards. So that was very, you know, like for me and you know, even our first year, we honored a beautiful, amazing man from Musqueam, Dr. Wilton Littlechild, and he was coming from another event in Winnipeg. And I said, are you going to be able to attend? And he said, oh yeah. He said, I will be there. I will be there. So as soon as he got off the plane, he came straight to City Hall. And by the time of our program, it just worked.
Yeah.
And then he came in and then he came up and got his award. Such a I was shocked. I mean, for me, he's such a amazing, wanted individual out in all communities, and he came to make sure that he was at our award ceremony. I know it was for him, but because sometimes people can't make it. They're like, oh no, I can't, but I'll have somebody else come on my behalf or whatever. But he was adamant to be there, and he came, and that was our first year.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, it was perfect timing.
Just slid right in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. See it.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I think it's little moments like that where it's just like, it shouldn't have come together, but it just came together the way that it was supposed to. I think it's a good reminder and it's good affirmation that you are right where you're supposed to be.
And I never thought I would be doing this ever. I knew there was a gap. I knew we needed more supports for our men. We needed a lot of that because there's just this imbalance, and we need them to regain those things that is rightfully theirs. And this is one of the ways I felt, okay, let's do this then. My brother kind of put me in a position where and you know, they did say the women will lead at the beginning because we have to. And so I'll take it on. I said, I will do this. I will take it on, and I will make it something that can be meaningful for the rest of our people and the rest of the world. And have some amazing people on our committee. I'm beyond grateful. I don't know, Creator is just wanting this too, I guess, and our ancestors to say, hey, let's rebuild our people.
And you trust in the tobacco and the ceremony and the prayer.
Libraries have always been more than just shelves for books. They've been keepers of stories, of knowledge, and of community memory. That's why we are so excited to be able to partner with the Red Deer Public Library to help amplify and preserve our Indigenous voices through the Voices of Resilience podcast. Did you know that RDPL memberships are free to all of City of Red Deer residents? Because I didn't. Your library card connects you to thousands of books, movies, magazines, language tools, games, and so much more. Plus, 24/7 access to a digital library that you can access from anywhere. Swing by any of RDPL's 4 locations or visit rdpl.org to sign up, tap into all of their programs for all ages, and reconnect yourself with the immense power of storytelling. Culture lives where it's shared, and this is just the beginning.
So, as a young matriarch, Janice seen a need in the community health of the community. And every time there's a big ceremony or a powwow or someone passes away, it's the woman that will go check on them. This one's going to need support. Can you make new moccasins for the deceased person's journey? So and so makes good berry soup. They know what to do when the community needs help. But knowing how it's done in a healthy and balanced way, that no one else is getting hurt or no feelings are getting hurt. And it's not usually just one woman. It's listening to all the women in the matriarchal way. I think one of the hardest things I learned as a matriarch was when my son had his coming of age ceremony. We had a special sweat lodge and ceremony for him in the teepee out at my family land. And for the first 2 rounds of the sweat lodge, River sat with me on the woman's side where he had been, and us and all the other women taught him about kindness and this and that, and you don't hit and you don't do this, and all the things that come with the coming of age ceremony and prior. And then at the beginning of the 3rd round, I had to do something that was very symbolic and for me very, very hard. And at the beginning of the 3rd round, before the door shut, I had to symbolically push him over to the men's side. And it was, we've done our job as women. Now it's up to you. He's come of age. You teach him now how to be a good husband, good man, hunter, gatherer. The women of the community see this, as do the men. I really do believe that the men see it too. But there's just such this beautiful balance and exchange. And even at our ceremonies, at our feasts, the men hunt, the women cook, then the men serve and clean up. And then the cycle will become all over again. But you make sure those ones who are serving eat first, so they're strong enough to hunt for us again. It's a very delicate and beautiful way that the women, the matriarchs, can see when it's fallen out of balance.
From my experience, I've witnessed quite a few strong women matriarchs begin things for their communities, seeing this as something that needed to be done, to know like I'll be able to also lean on these other matriarchs who are there to help support me to bring these because that's what it is about, is that community.
Mm-hmm.
That's the responsibility. I think even at a certain age too, I think we know, okay, I'm ready to take this on and steer it. And then one day I'm going to hand it over to somebody else to say, it's your turn now. I'll mentor you, I'll role model you, but you're the one that's going to take this on now and be the one to keep it going. Just like anything else that we do as people, we have those that will up and comings to keep it moving, to keep it going, to make sure that it doesn't like how the ceremonies, right? We have our leaders, and then they start to teach and mentor and help the ones that are going to take their place. So that's really like kind of that is when I saw these other women that I looked up to, and then I was like, okay, I gotta get myself ready to be that lady, to be that person in our communities. Like I just, it is a big responsibility, but I know that because of that guidance and that faith and in our prayers and our ceremony, that I knew that it was going to be okay, because I always had our elders to say, the ancestors have us. They got our backs. They know what we're doing, and it needs to be done. So we just have that faith and walk with it, and bring those people that are willing to come along with you for that journey. That's where we're at with that. And I'm just grateful for all of the women that I've had the honor to walk with, to know and who've helped mentor me and be an inspiration and role model for me to take this on as I guess a leader to to the others who've come along with this journey, I guess it's that, it's that time now for people to really start healing and to take back what is rightfully ours. And my dad, like, he always ensures that, when I'm helping him, it's us women that start the ceremonies. In the South, I've been taught that we're the ones who start everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that there is another confirmation of how our roles are in different societies and different nations. But the women are the heart, they always say.
And I think why you've had so much buy-in from elders is because we really watched you. Honestly, we really watched you that first year. And we watched how hard you work, how hard you worked, how much heart you put into it. And you didn't do it for glory. You didn't do it for money. You did it for Creator. You did it for the community, for the men. And that's why we've got to really, continue. We keep trying to do these kind of things.
Oh, I was going to cry there. And that's why I don't wear makeup at the awards either, because I am going to cry.
Yeah, so. She's a big crybaby.
Me too.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things I've had to learn too, is like, where is my line that I'm like, I can't take on anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I know with my previous position, because it was a very emotionally draining position, and not in a really bad way, but it was just so much of yourself being given because of the kind of work that I was doing. And I was supporting families of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and people. And so part of that, like, I did feel like there was a lot of that emotional stuff happening. And depending on how busy was, how much energy can I put towards, like, I had to be very, selective in that way. But ceremony has always been what I fall and lean on during that time. And my brother always talks about, like, going back to basics, even if it's just like a smudge, right? If you can't make it to a sweat, or you can't get to somewhere to do those things, like, just, that's what you go to. And so ceremony is a big piece of this whole process of my life since being connected to it. It's a important piece of my holistic self. And I think that for the awards, it's just been even more amplified with going to Sundances in the summer, bringing my offerings to the tree to say, please continue to help us, to guide us on this journey as we evolve, because there's that continually evolving, whether it's our committee, whether it's the sponsors, whether it's the, so all of those things. And then even with my outside life too, like my real personal life, I have to have that support. Otherwise, I think I would just fall apart, because I wouldn't have, I might just throw in the towel and I can't do this anymore. I have to step back. But I think the beauty in our committee is that we acknowledge that, because a lot of us do different type of work. And so we do acknowledge those times when maybe we're burning out or a family's sick. We've had a death in our family or what have you, like, to be able to say, I just need to step back for a little bit, and I'm going to hand this over to so-and-so to take care of until I feel I'm ready to come back. And so I think knowing even our own, I guess, communities and things that happen, there's a lot of that sympathy and compassion when it comes to that, which I really appreciate with the committee, because everybody's so understanding. And like Corky said, like, I don't think we've really had a quarrel. I mean, some, yes, maybe we don't agree, but it hasn't blown out of proportion, which I really appreciate. But there's always those pieces of balancing your medicine wheel, as you would say. So I know we're never ever completely balanced all the time, but I really focus on that spiritual part of myself and my emotional part. And I always allow myself to feel those feelings if I need to, because we have to be working on ourselves too. Like, I can't be just giving and not getting anything back. So I have to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. I love going to the mountains. That's one of my places where I find that energy of being able to, what is that word? Like, take on that energy and be
reset.
Wash away what,
Yeah.
so you can take on more.
Just telling you, as an older person, compassion fatigue is very, very real. And if you don't make the decision for yourself, it will get made for you. And a couple of years ago, I had to really stay quiet for a while. And I find now with my physicality, like using a cane, that, if I can give you a for instance, with the Women's Sweat Lodge, I can't do much of the prep work anymore physically. But there's been younger women who have been there for a long time, who have learned the way and why we do this and how to set the logs and the rocks and everything. So that's a natural morph. So there's going to come a day when I won't be able to do lodge, but I feel good knowing there's a couple that will be able to step in. It happens naturally. It really does happen naturally. And I'm ready. When I was young, I thought I wanted to be everything to everyone. And then as I got older and I was being put in more and more different positions, I felt like I had to be there for everyone in every way. And then when I finally broke, I actually got called out by a few people saying, you should have been there and you should have done that. And I really struggled with it. So, and to the point where it took me a lot of work to go, no, I'm okay with saying no. I don't have to be in the front of everything. And there's other people that are quite capable, and it's a learning thing as you go along. But take care of yourself as you're younger. When I met Janice, it was through working with missing and murdered women and families, and I could see when people in that field were starting to crumble a little bit, and I did the same thing. But you have to believe there's other people that are coming up with just the same fire you had when you started to make your way. If it is your truth, you have a right to speak it. If it's your truth, you have a right to speak it, but you have to do it in a way where you don't hurt anyone else. And it will all unfold naturally. And I believe we're all born with a gift. I really do. And with that comes our responsibility to share it with each other. And you do it in your way. You do it in your way. You do it in your way. We all have a gift. And sometimes maybe we have to pull back on our own little gift for once in a while to let other people's gifts get stronger. And I'm going to stop right there because I'm falling down the rabbit hole. And my knee hurts. What's your words of wisdom?
Well, I think that one thing I want to say is, if you have a dream, like, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
If it feels right, do it. If you have the support behind you, believe in yourself that you're going to accomplish. It may take a while, but if you just keep chipping away at it, you're going to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like that teaching. I always use this one is, you know, when we look at our people, like we're like the buffalo, and one of the only animals that won't run away from a storm is a buffalo. Will go right through it. So no matter what storms come up in life, just remember that you're going to get to the end of that storm, and there's going to be that sun and the beauty of all of those things you've just gone through. You're going to get that. You're going to receive that gift, or you're going to receive that, whatever it is that you're going through. And for me, there were a few storms that had happened through this whole, you know, getting it off the ground. You know, I had people come and start with me and then they disappeared. I had people that, you know, wanted to be a part of it, but then life happened for them. And so, you know, to that, putting it up on the shelf, bringing it back down, putting it, you know, and through that time, I just remembered in my, well, I'm going to find the right people. I will get this. We are going to have this. It's going to happen. And I think the timing was perfect with like COVID, being able to focus on getting it, you know, like organized and all of that stuff. So everything happens for a reason, right? Even those times when we're trying to rush things, just to remember that maybe we're not supposed to rush things. It's going to just happen naturally, right? And so to just remember to just believe in yourself and know that you're capable, and that your gift, like, you know, Corky's talking about, you will be able to bring it out in whatever way it needs to come, and just to, yeah, like believe in yourself, believe in your gifts, believe in who you are. Like for me, I grew up without my culture, you know, 60s scoop thriver, like all of these things brought back to my culture, my community, my people from a different world. You know, walking in two worlds can be easy and it can be hard, right? Depending on your journey and who you are. You can make it hard, or you can make it easy, or you can take what you've learned in this world to apply to this world, and vice versa, and help make it bridging it, right? And that's what I had to do, you know, and not to make fun to anybody, but sometimes I have to put on my white voice in order to get things done. Or writing an email a certain way, I can't laugh, you know, all that kind of stuff. Right? The teasing, the joking. Like there's times when I have to actually be, you know, serious and all of that. But, you know, but like just being able to, and again, my journey was the way it was supposed to be.
Yep.
To get me to this place in my life, in order to see the need, and even sometimes seeing it from out here, looking in, you know, like it's been a beautiful journey, I have to say. But I'm glad that I believed in myself enough to know that we were able to get this off the ground with all the people that helped throughout the years. And now it's become something so beautiful and prestigious, but, you know, people see it in such a good way. And that was what I wanted. I wanted it to be a beautiful thing for our men, because our men deserve it. They really do. Like yourself, right? Like my son, he's waiting for me, but you know, you all deserve that goodness, right? And I feel that, like, however that can be given, you know, and then received on the other end, it's just phenomenal. Like hearing everybody's feelings too, like the men that have received the awards, like how they felt about it, you know, like I'm gonna cry, but watching my best friend, who's been working in helping people for over 40 years. He got an award. One of my good friends, he's like, I take him like a brother too, is Conway Kootenay. Like watching him go up there in his humility to receive that award that he got. Like it just fills my heart to see when I see all these men and just that pride they have at the end of the event. And they're just like, wow, like look at me, you know? How somebody sees them. And I have to say too, like we've one of the committee members, she started a chapter or a branch, I should say, off the original tree of the awards in Saskatchewan. So Saskatchewan now has Okimaw Awards.
Just had their first one, yeah.
Their first one. So, you know, it's that ripple effect that I'm hoping happens
even this year I invited Wap Canoe. I know it was a big long shot, but I invited him because I thought I would love for him to see what we're doing here in Alberta. Maybe it'll ripple effect into Manitoba, and say wherever, but it's time now that we become like at that balance of equality within our own genders, but our communities, right? So that's healing.
It was also really nice to see the conversation of all of the treaties coming together for this event. And now it's spanning out far past our borders of Alberta.
Yeah.
Right? This is based on our treaties, and the land that we're on is still treaty land. I think that conversation needs to come out more, and we're seeing a lot more connection with our different treaties, with our different nations. It's a lot harder, if not impossible, to be silent about the things that are going on. And we're understanding more that if you're silent and place it, you're picking essentially the wrong side, right? So the wrong side of history. So for anyone who is interested in looking into the Okimaw Awards even further, or wanting to support in whatever avenue they can, where can they do so?
We are on social media. We do have an Instagram. We have a Facebook page, as well as a website. So it's www.okimaw.org. And I love our website that we have all of our past recipients on there so people can see, and we have some pictures and videos and things like that. So if you're interested, if anybody is interested in becoming involved or supporting, however, like that's probably the best is our website.
We're day 10 of 2026 here. The Okimaw Awards for 2026 is coming up. It's a good few months away. When do you guys have a solid date or like a ballpark on when you guys are doing it?
Yes, it's November, I want to say 14th.
November 14th.
2026 at the City Hall. We've already confirmed the date. They always ask us, I think, a week after we're done, and they'll say, do you guys want to come back? Yes. And then they book us in right away.
Oh, amazing.
So then we can solidify the date, and we're already...
Oilers blue this year.
Oiler blue this year.
Oiler blue.
On the bridge.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so if anyone's interested and they see that bridge light up around November, you know what it's for.
Yes,
Yeah.
you bet. It's for our men.
Yeah, we're not, there's no Oilers game going on, and this is specifically for men. So if you guys are interested in coming down and supporting, it's a free event to show up for.
Yes.
Is there any registration that you have to go through at a time?
No, just security when you come in. But other than that, it is free to anybody. And we have it from 1 to 3 in the afternoon.
1 to 3, November 14th. And are you planning on also doing a live stream this year as well for anyone who can't make it?
Yes.
Amazing. So you'll see all of the information there. We'll link everything in the description down below if you guys want to check it out. I just want to thank both of you again for sharing your time with me and for coming all the way up from Medicine Hats. And it's always amazing to see you again, Corky, and just share some words with you. And
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler.
Yes, Tyler. And Corky.
and Layla.
Yes.
Just had a ping in my ear. How are the batteries doing for both of the cameras?
Oh, I thought you said you had a pain in your
Pretty much.
Seems at 30.
Okay, that one's at 30. How about that guy? I had a feeling. It was a ringing.
I didn't hear it. Did you?
It's a curse.